you find hit points, falling unconscious, and death saving throws confusing?
Yeah.
Do you wish you just understood it better?
Yeah.
All right, let's do a video about that.
Yeah. Hey everybody, this is Josh from JNJtabletop. With me, as always, Jake. And today we're going to be talking about something that is kind of like I feel like it starts off as a simple concept, hit points, and then as you kind of delve deeper into it and really read into it, it starts to be like, wait, this might be a little more than what I originally thought it was. Before we really get into that, I just want to mention that we have a giveaway going right now, and we'll have a link in the doobly-doo, unless you watch this video like way later, in which case we no longer have a giveaway going as someone already won. But if you're watching this video the week of the 21st, then yeah, we have a giveaway going for D&D 5e Player's Handbook. It's US only, and all that information is in the doobly-doo. Good luck. So Jake, do you want to tell us a little bit about what hit points are?
I sure do. So hit points can be kind of this like concept. Like I remember when I was first learning to play Dungeons and Dragons, I remember thinking, I think I was a player, and I there was like a hostage situation where one of my characters had a knife to their throat by one of the enemies, and I was like, oh, a dagger does 1d4, and I have like 50 hit points, so I'm fine. And it's like, yeah, well, sure, but you die. Like, that's how that works. If you've seen Game of Thrones, good lord, you've seen enough of that. So the book defines hit points that they represent a combination of physical and mental durability, the will to live, and luck. Creatures with more hit points are more difficult to kill. Those with fewer hit points are more fragile. I know some other definitions of some other game systems. I mean, that's from 5e. Like Star Wars Saga Edition, another Wizards of the Coast product, I think uses the phrase like it also represents your ability to roll with the punches. I think like stamina is implied, like just like how much fight you've got left in you. I think some of these more abstract ways of looking at this stuff, I think is a little more accurate to what it actually means.
I like the thought that, because it says luck there, so it's like if you run out of hit points, did your luck run out? You know, like something like that. It sounds fun.
Yeah, especially in a game when you're rolling dice.
I feel so. If hit points aren't necessarily health, right? If we're looking at it in like video game systems, then that opens so many doors. It's such a interesting thing there, because it's not just like it could be anything. If something hits your AC, right? If an attack hits you, it doesn't necessarily mean you have an arrow sticking out of you. Right? Like if you're taking mortal wound, if that's what's being described to you, you're taking mortal wounds every time you lose like 5 hit points when you have 50.
Yeah, it's like the acupuncture scene from The Nutty Professor. He's got like 100 needles in him. It's like, I'm still fine, man. Like, I don't know, but actually, when you talk about like the will to live and stuff like that, it actually makes vicious mockery make sense now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, so there's something magically cutting about those words that actually saps your will. Like it's a demoralizing attack and actually matters.
That makes it like so much more brutal. Honestly, the thought of that when you take it outside of just the broad hit points and put it in directly to you are directly sapping their will to live. Like,
it's like, does this deal? It says psychic, but should it deal necrotic damage? Like, I mean,
so your hit points run out. That's it. Are you dead? What happens after you run out of hit points?
You are not dead. You actually become unconscious, which is one of the conditions, and an unconscious creature is incapacitated, which is another condition. They can't move or speak. They're unaware of their surroundings. They drop whatever they're holding, and they fall prone. The creature automatically fails strength and dexterity saving throws. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage, and any attack that hits the creature is a critical hit if the attacker is within 5 feet of the unconscious creature. So there's a lot to unpack there, but I feel like it all makes sense, right?
Absolutely makes sense. You're not going to be able to hold anything or know what's happening or even stand on your own 2 feet if you're not conscious. I mean, everyone's felt lightheaded before and almost fell, right? Some of us have actually fainted or passed out. That's
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to hold anything. You're not even going to remember to fall the right way. You're just going to slam down on the ground. Like that's.
You should be able to take falling damage if you do. Imagine that.
If you're Goliath and you fall.
Oh.
How tall is your character? Oh, 10 feet? Okay.
Yeah.
That's 1d6 bludgeoning.
Yeah. Bigger they are, harder they fall. Nailed it.
I think it's good to talk about the unconscious condition too, though, because so many people feel like once they drop to 0 hit points, that's it. They're dead. It's over. And I get why they feel like that, especially if you're looking at it in video game terms. It's like hit points is health. So if I lose all my health, I'm dead. And then the other thing that kind of drives that is death saves, which is drop to 0 hit points, you fall unconscious, you have to start making death saves. Basically just rolling a d20 and beating a 10. 3 saves means you're stable. 3 fails means you're dead. So
done.
So I think it's fair to say that unconscious is not dead, but maybe it's mostly dead.
Mostly dead, right? Yeah. Well, there's also the instant death rule, which I actually happen to have pulled up here. You can easily see a situation where someone takes so much damage that no, you're not knocked out. You are instantly dead. And the way that works is basically if you take as much extra damage as your hit point maximum. So if you had 12 and you took 24, that's instant death. I think you actually asked Mac this last night in our Rare Drop roleplay game, just for, context and just being thorough.
Yeah, that's it's a really harsh rule to play by, but sometimes harsh rules are nice to have in your games because it forces players to take things seriously. If you have 1 hit point left and you're like, yeah, but it'd be cool if I jumped off this roof 50 feet up in the air, you take 5d6 bludgeoning damage, and then you're just unconscious and someone just healing words you right back up. It almost feels like you don't have any consequences for that, but if that takes you down a lot and you die, then you're gonna take situations like that more seriously. I know that was kind of like a gonzo thing.
And that's true. Like, we all will look for rules exploits once in a while, like the person who wants to put together a really fun build or whatever, or just kind of understand how all the rules work together. You start to see potential loopholes, right? So if you jump off a cliff and you hit the ground, it's like, well, yeah, you're going to take 1,000,000 points of damage because it's hundreds of feet in the air. I don't know what you were thinking. If that person doesn't die, we did a video on this, you're actually taking away player agency because their actions don't actually have any real consequences. It's almost like Groundhog Day, right? Like, you just, nope, I'm back. It's the next day. Like, you just, all right, Punxsutawney Phil, it doesn't matter if you keep seeing that shadow. I'm just back, and
And if that situation happens where, like, suddenly your player tries to jump off a cliff, or maybe they will say fall off a bridge into a waterfall, and who knows how far down it is. That's a Rare Drop roleplay thing. Talking about Reckoning Hour. Check that out. Tuesday nights at 7. And if something like that happens and you don't want to just kill them outright, well, maybe that's when you dip into like the lingering injury table. And that's kind of its own thing. And maybe we'll talk about that in another video. And if you want us to talk about that in another video, just let us know down in the comments, because we'll do it for sure. But that would be another way to not kill them off, but still make their choice to do something really stupid matter. And I guess we can't really talk about hit points without mentioning temporary hit points. So, Jake, you want to tell us a little bit about temporary hit points?
So temporary hit points are different than real hit points. It's a bonus that you can have, and it's separate. So if you lose a temporary, it's not like you could heal back up to that. It's not a permanent thing. They are temporary. Any damage you take while you have temporary hit points goes there first. So if you have 5 temporary hit points and take 8 damage, you would take the first 5 from the temporary, and then the next 3 goes to your total. It also wouldn't like heal you or stabilize you if you were unconscious and someone had a feature that could give temporary hit points, like heroism or some kind of inspiring leader feat or something like that. But unless they're used or depleted or has some kind of like time limit, temporary hit points will last until you finish a long rest.
I think some other games might refer to it as like a soak value, where like your armor would have a soak value, so it would be like your soak value is 4, so you get hit for 5 hit points, you only take 1 because you soaked 4 of it. Temporary hit points is kind of similar to that if you're coming from other backgrounds.
They can be really ridiculous. Like we had a situation in our Dragon of Icespire Peak game where you guys were in the woodland manse. Yeah, you were trying to find a place to rest and it didn't quite work out. And Landor was like out of juice, but he's like, I got enough to give you guys heroism. And then it's like every round you seem to take as much damage as he was able to give you temporary hit points. It was easily one of the coolest moments of the campaign.
Yeah, we went through a lot of rounds of combat and we got hit, but the temporary hit point saved us. Jake, do you have any ideas for tonight's video?
Nah. How about you? You have any ideas?
Nah. You want to do the intro?
Nah. I guess we could talk about our giveaway. You want to talk about a giveaway? No.
Well, but maybe. I mean, I guess we should talk about the giveaway.
Nah. Just put that in the comment section.
Yeah.